Okay, we are live. Tell everyone your name, please.
I'm Dr. Denise Sibley in Johnson City.
And what kind of a doctor are you?
I'm an internal medicine physician for 35 years.
35 years, so you know what you're talking about.
Yes.
All right, let's start first of all with the area that we're in. We've already heard from some doctors in this area, an amazing pharmacist as well on ivermectin. Talk about what happened, what you saw. Was it chaos? Did you stay calm yourself? Were you concerned about the whole COVID thing? Talk us through that whole
So COVID hit here around March of 2020. I had been watching it come through Italy, Lombardo, Italy, and then through France because I have a daughter there, and coming through New York. And so I was keeping up with the data, and by the time we got it, it looked like it had the mortality rate of the flu, the seasonal flu. So I was keeping tabs on it long before I think other people were because of my daughter being international. And then when the first people called me for COVID treatment, I did what they did in 2003 with SARS-CoV-1, which was to use hydroxychloroquine, which is a drug that's older than me. I'm 63. And so it's safe. I've written hundreds and hundreds of prescriptions for people that go on mission trips for malaria, also for connective tissue diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, all that stuff. So I was very familiar with the drug, and I called it in to a Walgreens and then a Walmart, and for 10 tablets, neither of them would fill it. And I've never been turned down to have a medication filled, and it was about $10 for those tablets. And I just got off the phone. I was like, what happened? What just happened? And the pharmacist said, well, because you're writing it for 10, I know that you're using it for COVID. And I was shocked because I've written 180 at a time for a 3-month supply for someone who has rheumatoid arthritis. And I do it all the time. And so I immediately knew something was up, that something wasn't right, and it began my deep dive. So there were further deceptions, articles that were fake in journals, things that didn't make sense. Masks we knew didn't work in 2017. We knew they didn't work for respiratory illnesses. Everything seemed upside down, and the hospitals were acting strange. So my deep dive, I started getting calls. I didn't advertise, but word got around that I was treating, and I eventually treated with ivermectin. I used the multi-drug sequential therapy that many of the doctors were using. We developed a collaboration among all of us in the United States and internationally, and I was asked to join an email group with Peter McCullough, so we were constantly collaborating on what worked and what didn't. Then we developed a local physician group, and we met as well to decide what to do with these people, how to help them. And so literally I was inundated with people for treatment. And when the first calls came, I heard God say that I was going to do this for His glory, and I was not going to take any payment. And that was part, and I didn't really understand it at the time, but obviously people were in need, but it became my platform that why am I killing myself talking until 11:30 at night to patients? I'm not getting compensated. Why am I doing this? You can't say that I have a financial incentive. And to this day, it's almost 4 years later, I have no financial incentive. I've treated thousands of patients. I've treated long COVID, vaccine injuries. I've treated everywhere and anyone that would call me. And for that, and then I got into the legislative process. Some of the representatives and senators reached out to me for legislation, and one of the big things that was accomplished was that we got ivermectin available without a prescription in Tennessee. We're the only state. And so I made lots of trips to Nashville and gave expert testimony in the House and the Senate on various bills, natural immunity and ivermectin and no patient left alone, different ones. But the ivermectin was just a huge thing because I wanted people to have safe pharmaceutical grade access to ivermectin. and it's a very safe drug. It's probably the safest drug. It won a Nobel Prize in 2015. It's a natural product found in a golf, an organism produces it in the golf course of Japan. So it was a very safe drug, and right after that bill was signed into law by the governor of Tennessee, 2 weeks later, I received a certified letter by my American Board of Internal Medicine. That's the body that certifies me that I'm an internal medicine specialist. And they said that they were sanctioning me and going to withdraw my certification, which I've had untarnished, perfect record since 1989, because I was a misinformation spreader. And so that began a 1.5 year long legal battle, which finally concluded 3 months ago today in a personal hearing, an appeal hearing before the American Board of Internal Medicine in Philadelphia. So $50,000 later, I'm still defending myself for treating patients for free and using FDA approved drugs and nutraceuticals or vitamins. Now, after my long presentation, I took 13 3-inch binders full to the American Board of Internal Medicine appeal hearing, and I laid them all out on the table with all of the 3,500 peer-reviewed studies about vaccine injury, harm, mask efficacy, vaccine efficacy, and I laid those all out for them to show them that I was not just a little town doctor, but I actually had read all the academic literature, and I knew what I was talking about. And so I talked nonstop for hours, and it's 3 months today, and I've not heard from them, so they have not pulled my board certification. They also have not gone after the other folks who were lined up after me, who are much more astute than me, because they were also going to be sanctioned and their board certification taken away. And so it's been a ride, along with that, trying to treat people, as they've now, mainly it's vaccine injuries, which are much more difficult to treat than the illness itself. So I wear many hats in the community. I feel responsible for my region. I feel responsible for Tennessee. We have a lot of legislation going this session to try to stop the shots, various other things. But I feel like God has used me in a way that I never knew was possible, and it's made me the busiest I've ever been with His strength.
I am hearing from people already, we haven't been here for very many hours, but people are saying you've saved so many people's lives. So you're an amazing, amazing doctor, human being.
Well, I give God the glory, and people that helped put these protocols together. And it really was a new way of medicine, because in the days, before, if somebody was really, really sick, you told them to go to the ER when they weren't breathing well. But now the ER was the last place you wanted them to be, and no one wanted to go. So I was managing acutely ill people at their home, going to their home, doing whatever I needed to do to treat them. So it was a new experience for me. It stretched me, but even in your 60s you can learn new things.
So I need to ask you, Dr. Sibley, about the great many reports we're getting as people sit here and talk about their loved ones. And you can see in here, this is a memorial of a great many that lost their lives. They said they were killed, their loved ones were killed in hospital. Well, not just on remdesivir, they're put on vents, fentanyl death. What's going on?
Well, one person in particular, and his wife could not be here, but in February of 2021, I got a call that this man was in the ICU, and he said, "I've heard that you can get me remdesivir, and I'm sick. I think I'm dying." He was in the ICU. And so I worked for 3 days nonstop, and I mean literally nonstop, day and night, trying to find a lawyer to get a court order to order them to give him ivermectin. That's what he wanted.
Not remdesivir.
Not remdesivir. He did get some remdesivir, but he wanted ivermectin because he thought he was dying. And so all the lawyers had conflicts of interest with our monopoly healthcare, and the eighth one finally said, okay, I'll help you. I got all the scientific evidence together. The two legal teams met with the hospital, and my lawyer just tucked tail and went away. So there was nothing. They would not let us allow his wife to bring in ivermectin. They have ivermectin in their pharmacy, but they would not allow it to be given. They wouldn't allow anyone to bring it to him, and he was getting worse. And his wife asked me that his pastor had not come to see him because he had COVID. And being a Christian, would I anoint him with oil? So I went in as a person, a fellow Christian, to anoint him with oil, and you would think that I was doing something terrible. They had their eyes on me the whole time. I was reprimanded by the facility for doing that, and that man passed away. And to this day, as you can tell, there are many cases like that where people passed away. They passed away with vaccine injuries as well. And the hospitals here in Tennessee made $150,000 above what their insurance paid for their illness. If they got remdesivir, intubated, died, that's what they were making extra. So there was money to be made. There's still, even to this day, there's someone in the hospital right now that I know who had COVID 4 weeks ago, but they still want to give him remdesivir. And I mean, it's not stopped. You'd think by this time it would have, things would have changed, but these were real people. And for them to let that man die, it affected me very much. And so this really happened, and they really did intentionally let people die, or worse.
I'm trying to understand how doctors, you're a doctor, how your colleagues, your doctors, how could they allow it? They must have known. Why did they go along with it? Why did they treat? We hear so many people being told that they were abused so badly. These are human beings treating human beings. What is this?
It's like a switch turned in their head. They worked for the monopoly. They worked for groups who would fire them, and it was well known that if you gave ivermectin, you were immediately fired. So if you didn't follow the approved protocol, you'd be fired. And so many of them were afraid. During the vaccination period, I think it's 95% of doctors participated in the vaccination. So you're not going to speak against something that you've actually participated in, and you'll get fired. And you'll be ridiculed, and you'll possibly lose your certification or your, whatever you've worked all these years to obtain. I think there was you can call it cognitive dissonance, you can call it willful blindness. They could not think clearly, and I don't know morally how they laid their head on the pillow at night. I don't know. I can't speak to that.
A couple more questions, if you don't mind. RSV, they're really going for the babies at the moment. They've already started venting the babies and killing them because they didn't get the RSV shot. Similar pattern we're seeing already. What's your advice as a doctor? We're not giving medical advice out here for anybody listening. What would be your advice for RSV? What would you have in your cabinet? Let's put it this way. What would you have in your home for RSV? When I was brought up, you had those kind of things. You want a steamy shower, a steamy thing.
Right.
What do you think?
So,
I don't want young mothers rushing to hospital.
Correct. And RSV has been around as long as I've been a doctor. That's not new. I'm not a pediatrician, but I had children myself, and I would use steamy showers. I would use nebulized treatments. I would give them vitamin C, lots of vitamin C. I would give them vitamin D. This is not a disease that's been a deadly disease. The monoclonal therapy that they are advocating for children, for newborns really, to be given, during the trial, 12 babies died in the treated arm. And they said it was unrelated to the monoclonal therapy. But, you know, they can make the study say whatever they want. 12 babies died. And so I am not in favor of the monoclonal treatment for children. I'm not in favor of rushing your child to the hospital. Find a good independent pediatrician or family practitioner who will work with you on nutraceuticals and things that you can do at home, and have those things in your home for when you are sick. I think every family, every house needs to have a nebulizer.
So the other side are getting terribly excited because disease X is coming. They're already making a vaccine for disease X. How would you recommend treating disease X?
Well, we don't know what disease X is. It's kind of a placeholder. It's fear. It could be fear porn. My personal thoughts is that after the pandemic treaty and the International Health Regulation Amendments go into effect in May, that disease X will become a thing, whatever it is. But I would recommend vitamin C, D, zinc, NAC. Again, having your nebulizer there that you can nebulize even saline. But there are ways to treat, and I recommend that every household have ivermectin because it treats all RNA viruses such as influenza and RSV, and COVID. So you should have, especially in Tennessee, there's no reason why every household shouldn't have ivermectin because you can walk in at selected pharmacies and get it.
Thank you for being an amazing person, brilliant doctor, and being strong and trusting to tell the truth. We really appreciate it. If everybody did that, this would be over.
It would have been over. 85% of the people that died of COVID would have been saved. We would have been over if early treatment would have been incorporated. But they actively suppressed it.
But not just that. Brave doctors like you speaking truth. That's what going to make us over.
It's a God thing.
It's a God thing.
It's a God thing.
Amen to that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.